Well, Annika Wells' major achievement at the moment is this under-16 legislation, which the coalition started. This was one of Peter Dutton's genius ideas. We've spoken at length on this program about the dangers of this legislation, how it's going to be used to limit access to credible news, to different forms of communication. It's going to inhibit people's free speech and free expression, and not just the under-16s, but it's been presented in this ridiculous term of this is just about the safety of young people online. If you believe that, then I can't help you, because you obviously are not across the detail. If you still don't understand by this point the fact that sites like YouTube and X fall under this ban, but Blue Sky, which is some far-left lunatic asylum for social media users, that somehow is exempt from this ban. If you don't understand this is political and how it's going to be used in the future to suppress free expression and speech further, then it's quite depressing, because the level of debate and the level of understanding of this legislation in this country is depressingly low.
Well, also what is sickening and it's such a joke that Annika Wells is the minister in charge of this under-16 legislation, because already they're assuming it's going to fail. Already they're putting in, oh, it's going to be messy, it's going to be this, the transition period. That word transition, I mean, I tell you, that describes everything wrong with the left in the world. But they're using this thing, under-16 bill. What have they done with it? They've trotted around the world to sell themselves to their globalist elite mates all around the, the socialist UN and everywhere else. That's who they're selling this idea to. They know it's not really going to work very well, and they don't seem to care. They've already got the big tick from their UN mates. They'll sit there and then when they lose office, they'll trot off to some job where they'll, work their way up the global gravy train. Well, but the point is, this thing is not going to work because kids are too smart, and it's going to disadvantage a lot of kids who want to use YouTube and other means to stay in touch over the holidays, to educate themselves, to entertain, etc.
It's not about working with kids. This is a way to bring in social media sites and bring in digital, not just digital ID, but to really issue these crippling fines to social media sites to force them to censor information that they don't want discussed, things that they think are contrary to social cohesion. So there are so many examples, and they're fairly upfront about what they see as contrary to social cohesion. And debates about mass immigration, for example, are things they don't like discussed. Debates, James, like, are certain ethnic groups overrepresented in crime statistics? They don't want that discussed.
They don't want any of that discussed because, that gets you into very dangerous territory where you might be called a neo-Nazi if you start talking about that. That's what they do. But, it's more than that, because this is part of a much more sinister global push. We've spoken about it. I've reported on this here on this program. Our e-safety commissioner, who comes to us from the United States. We've also got, in the European Union, we've had efforts just this week to fine X massive amounts of money if essentially they don't go along with the European censorship regime, which basically means don't talk about mass immigration, don't talk about ethnicity, don't talk about welfare, don't talk about crime, don't talk about the fact that, hey, it's Christmas market season. Why are there all these big concrete bollards around the things? Well, it must be for traffic control. They're talking about all of that sort of stuff. And that censorship is part of a global effort to shut down the First Amendment in the United States, which is the precious guarantor of liberty around the world. This is a hill I will absolutely die on. Domestically, though, the fact that this coalition was so harebrained that they don't see the opportunity here and, in fact, pushed this. And I can tell you this, the federal Young Nationals have just passed a resolution to say that they oppose the under-16 ban. And it's like, guys, coalition, what does every headline say? What does every poll say? You've got a problem with young people. Young people you've got this issue right here where you could have said, no, young people, we are for your right to be on social media and use the internet as you choose. And yet they squibbed it and they backed this whole thing in. Again, They've just missed yet another opportunity.
Well, Senator Matt Canavan in Senate estimates this week was very good. Might have been last week, pinning down the bureaucrats behind and the E-Safety Commissioner herself. Because Matt Canavan was saying, look, I use YouTube with my kids. He's got a big family with my kids. I use it to teach them. We sit around, we watch shows together or whatever. What happens if I show kids on my YouTube channel or my platform or whatever, using my account basically, and this bureaucrat kind of faffed around, the E-Safety Commissioner, clueless, never knows what she's doing. She always has to go to the bureaucrats because she's just a political ideologue. And the bureaucrat basically said, well, we might have to shut your account down. What? And Matt went, what? What? You mean there goes parental control? So Matt was asking, could that happen? And she was saying, well, it might. She
guess what?
didn't really. They don't know what they're doing. It's all about. It's all literally, as you say, all about introducing control. They don't actually care what they do so long as they get that control.